want to talk today about being a poet and a writer because I think it's important to talk about that before I kick off, which could be any time. Now, I mean, I'm old enough. I'm not old enough, but I'm old, and I'm old enough that something could happen. Anyway, so I think that the key to being a poet or a writer, at least for me, is depression. I have probably been depressed, sad. People say, they look at my face and they say, "Why are you so sad?" I'm not sad. It's just my face. But I think the depression that is inside me, that's always been there since my childhood, has something to do with the way that I write. And because of the fact that my mother was an incredible extrovert and very brainy, I became an introvert and locked myself away as much as possible to avoid being criticized and overshadowed by my extrovert mother. Anyway, that develops, and eventually I start having this need to express myself. Well, funnily enough, strangely enough, it's not so strange. When you write, anything you write, whether it's a story or a poem or anything you write, works like a psychological cleansing of all the problems and fears and everything else that you have in your head. It's really good. And I often wonder about people who don't write. How do they balance their life? I mean, how do they get rid of all the shit that they've accumulated, all their anger, all their fears, all their wishes, all their dreams, all their imaginary things? Maybe, I don't know, are there people who have no imagination whatsoever? Has that been somehow forced out of them? That they're not allowed to imagine, they're not allowed to think about what could be, or to look at the world in a different way. Anyway, I think my style of writing is rather dark, and it's always been rather dark. I do have moments of seeming happiness or joy or something like that, but I don't know if joy is something that you can really measure. I think once in a while you feel good, things come, and life seems to be okay at that moment. But most of the time, life is really kind of absurd and stupid. And of course, you have to deal with other people. There you go. Other people. And mostly when you write something, what you're doing is you're taking other people and you're putting them in to this thing that you're doing. And you're trying to show other people what you see, how you think, what you have to say. And no matter how often you talk to your very best friend and say, "Oh, you know, I have this and this happened," and it's not the same. Once you put it down on paper, today everybody writes on computers, but think about it. Put it down on paper. Later on, you can have somebody transcribe it, or you can transcribe it yourself. Or we're in the modern age, you can talk and it will go into the digital. In other words, read what you wrote and it will become digital somehow. Magic. The magic world of the digital whatever. Okay, anyway, if you have any possibility at all to write things down, the wonderful thing is that later, whether it's 6 weeks later, 6 months later, or 6 years later, it doesn't matter. When you look at those words again, you see yourself as you were at that time. And you start to recognize who you are, how very important it is to recognize who yourself as a person. And then, I'm not going to say you improve. You don't necessarily get better. You just know more about yourself. Oh, I got to get better. No, forget about that. You are inside who you are, and you develop through life, and either you're like a good person, or, you're just not a good person. You got to live with that. Well, and the not good people, they seem to live with it much better than the people who are good. People who are kind of good, not everybody is really good. In fact, I've never met anybody who's really good. But I have met some people who are really bad. Evil. I mean, yeah. You know the kind I mean. Anyway, most of us are somewhere on the spectrum of good and evil. That's okay. That's mostly where everybody is. I don't know how good you have to be part of the good guys in this world. I don't know. But if you're decent to people, and if you're not horrible, and if you don't assassinate people in the sense, and I'm not talking about just killing. Killing is, those are we know about those people. But when I mean assassinate people, that you don't go after people to destroy them for your own benefit. That is what I call assassination, character assassination, whatever. There are people who do this. I've met them. It's happened to me. Okay. You deal with it, you just say, okay. You're not pleased. You get angry. But if you're a writer, if you're a poet, what happens? Well, guess what? You can put it down on paper. And it gets rid of the anger. It gets rid of all the shit that you have accumulated. It's really good therapy. Right? A cleansing. What do they call it? When you have the devil inside you. That was the famous film, which at the moment I can't remember. Anyway, the Catholic Church does it. The priest comes and he exorcises you. Well, basically, writing is what you do to exorcise the devil inside yourself. It's true, right? You get rid of that devil. You get him out. And if I write stories that have a really dark theme to them, well, that's the devil in there who's being exorcised. Not exercised, exorcised. Don't get that wrong. But in that sense, there is a cleansing going on. Now, are we cleansed forever and completely? No, of course not. But you're cleansed for that particular scene in your life. You're cleansed for a particular period. Why? Because we do get angry over and over again. we do suffer setbacks over and over again. We're not always successful. Which brings me to my next point. You can be talented. In fact, I think there are many, many, many talented people around in the world. Many. And I don't count myself among the elite of the talented, but I do believe I do have some talent. Okay? We all have talents. It depends on how you use them. Now, because we live in a particular society at the moment which is known as capitalism, and that the world that we've always lived in has a certain measure of success, which is money. Money is a measure of success that is used all over the place. If you're rich, you're supposed to be successful. Well, yes, you're successful at accumulating money, which is nice, I guess. I mean, I don't have any of it. I'm sure that the people who do have much of it are very pleased that they do. It facilitates a certain lifestyle, and it also causes some negative behavior, which comes with this money success. To be successful as a writer is a different thing. You can be successful in the sense that you write something and then you read it 6 months later and you say, hey, I did well. It looks good. And you can feel successful through doing that, having done that. The other thing is that you can also feel successful or be successful if other people acknowledge that what you did was good, that it deserves some praise, and they give you praise for it. Now, often, because we live in the capitalist world that exists, this praise is connected. We have a helicopter. All right. Well, that's what you get for filming outside. How long will that take? All right. So, the success that comes with the praise is often measured in money, right? And so the person who wrote the thing is rewarded with money. The reward, personal reward, can be when somebody says, hey, you did a good job, I liked it, and then they are actually people you like who say, and people you think are worthy enough to have told you that they like what you did and that what you did is okay, right? So critics or friends or whatever, right? So success and talent often do go together. But the success that we have in this world is measured mostly by money, sales, which means that somebody is profiting from your writing. Now, perhaps you're profiting as well, but it seems to me that the profit, let's put it this way, the bulk of the profit goes to somebody else, not to you. So, I have always been depressed, like I told you. One of the things that is a result of this depression is the inability to perform on stage, as it were. I'm not the kind of person who goes out there and risks my delicate psyche, my delicate soul. I'm not one of those people who goes out there and is able to sustain the disappointment that comes from not being successfully able to convince people out there in an audience, all right? To the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Okay, so I am introverted. I stay at home. I write at home. I do all my things in a controlled situation, controlled atmosphere, where I control it, which is not unusual, I guess. There are a lot of people like me. I'm not exactly a complete hermit or anything like that. I do go out. I teach. I've been out in the world. I played in a band. All sorts of things. So it's not that I've never done it. It's just that I don't like to do it, and I avoid it if possible. So I haven't sent many of my writings out to be criticized by external people. Once or twice I have, and I've had one or two positive responses and people who have actually put something that I wrote into print. Thank you very much. But most of the time I don't do that. I'm afraid. Okay? I'm afraid. It's simple. Fear is always there. Fear of being rejected. I don't like being rejected, and so I avoid the possibility of being rejected. That's it. And now I've decided over many, many years that it's probably, instead of being rejected, I can go to this new digital fantasy world, and I can actually put my things out there without the fear of rejection, in the sense of nobody is going to tell me you can't do this. And so I put a lot of things out on Amazon, on this books thing, book by demand, more or less. Other thing, I've written over 80 radio plays, and I wrote them all without any intervention from anybody above. Nobody told me what to write. Nobody told me what to leave out. And I found people who would speak the parts for the radio plays. And I got them on the radio, on non-commercial radio. And they've been broadcast over and over and over again over the years. So, for me, personally, that is an incredible success. And the best thing about it is nobody from above told me what I could or could not do. It's all my own decision. Whether you like that or not, that's up to you. It's not up to me. I was able to do what I wanted to do. And the same thing now with putting my books on Amazon. I am the editor, I'm the writer, I'm the publisher, I'm everything. And I seriously do not care whether or not anybody buys the stuff. Because the purpose for me is to put those things out into the world, and our world today is digital. However, I have ensured that the digital turns into actual paper. Here's my book. It's paper. So that's one of the books. That's my poetry book that I like very much. I think this is the one I'm trying to hawk to you today if you want to have it. How I spent starless nights and stainless days dealing death from the bottom of the deck. I mean, it doesn't get any more depressing than that. So if you're into it, that's the kind of stuff that I write. And the poems are really nice. I'm quite happy with them. In fact, in order to read, I'd have to wear glasses. So because I'm out in the sunshine, you see, I'm going to wear sunglasses. But sunglasses that actually allow me to read, because they're also sunglasses that are prescription. So here's this one. It's one page and a bit, so you can hear it. Today, cats in the garden today, but they don't usually jump into the picture. Anyway, here it is. He is friendless. That's the title. He is friendless. He is friendless by unconscious design, driven by force or forces unknown. He throws blitz flashes of energy like sperm into the universe, and the people near him and far away recoil in disgust or terror, some perhaps from sheer exhaustion. Let me read that again. Some perhaps from sheer exhaustion cannot stand his exuberance, tempered by black depression, or perhaps it is his secret knowledge of his being one of the chosen people, a classless bastard who finds himself a stranger everywhere, and yet always feels at home, a gypsy perhaps, master of nothing, playing a little of everything, just enough to get by, a flinger of cliches, a self-made thinker who reached the end of finite thought and lost himself a few times in the maze of infinity, and loses friends constantly until he ends contemplating suicide at the brink of success, but falls back from lack of will and lack of courage, and from tickling curiosity about what the rest of life's book holds. Do not pity the lonely man. Okay? That's from this wonderful book that you can buy on Amazon. Don't worry, I'll put all the information in writing at the end of this little video. Okay. So, being a writer is not an easy job, because you have to really practice at it and to get good. And you have to train yourself to look at things. You have to be able to feel something. You have to know how to express your emotions. And it really helps if you have read Chinese poetry. There's a translation. I can't read Chinese. But translations of Chinese poetry, because basically all Chinese hieroglyphs, or whatever you call them, pictograms, are pictures, pictograms, pictures. So that's really good training. Picture, 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 picture. Emotion, emotion, whatever it is. Anyway, it takes a lot of time, like everything else. Music, I'm not a musician, but I know really good musicians, and it takes training, it takes time. Anyway, here are the birds. The birds are in the garden now. They feel comfortable here, I hope. Yes, because the cats are gone. Anyway, time for them to take a bath, which is nice, and time for me to say, buy my book. Here you go. It's available on Amazon. Why do I talk like that? I don't know. I'm just talking. All right, here's the book. You can read it sideways if you want. can read it this way. And look, there's the back part. So, and if you look at the cover, you see both sides, all right? And guess what? Lots of illustrations inside. Really nice pictures in there. That my friend Peter helped me find them. And he's really a good artist, so he had good taste and was able to help me. This is a nice one here. Where is it there? Yeah, so the poems have some illustrations at the bottom. And I think this is a good book. I think the writing in here is good. I hope you find it good too. I hope you'll buy 100 copies. Why? Well, we talked about the measure of success in this world that we live in is money, so. And who's going to profit? Well, because of this particular thing here, the Amazon thing, I profit more than they do. They profit anyway. I mean, that's normal. But in this particular scenario, I get most of the money. And the money that they get goes to printing this thing and a small percentage of my soul. So, in this particular one, the soul is very dark, so they're getting a small percentage of a very dark soul. Anyway, there are lots of other books. Look at them. There is a good book that came out lately. It's called When the Roses Bloom. It's all short stories, also illustrated. And I like that one too. I think the stories are good. Anyway, who's telling you all this? I am. Are there critics lining up on the side here to come in and talk about, hey, we really like his writing? No, there aren't. So, either you like what I said or you don't, and who cares? In the end, what I did was I controlled from the beginning, writing, to the end, getting it out there into the world. And that's all I want to do. I just want to clear my desk, clear my brain, and get it out into the world. I wish you a very nice day. A very nice life. And have fun reading my books. Gotta turn this thing off.